Hello YouTube, Rorschach here. Before I begin, I wanted to give you all a massive shout out for the support on my last video. The overwhelming amount of kind comments, stories, and feedback is beyond motivating, and it's got me energized to make tons of high quality content for you all in the future. I truly thank you all for the love and support. I also wanted to give another huge shout out to my friends who have always been there for me and helped me record these videos. Love you guys. In this video, I wanted to address some of the negative comments towards the Elder Scrolls Online that I see, because quite frankly, I agree with a lot of the things you guys are saying. So today, I wanted to break down my suggested changes to current systems and even suggest some potential new features, even if they might be a bit too ambitious. This video will be broken down into chapters so you can check out whatever part interests you the most, or all of it. Keep in mind, these suggestions are purely for fun and generating conversation. I understand there would be massive changes being implemented to the game if these things happened. Then again, isn't that what everyone who is upset wants? A high elf can dream, right? Well, race changes. Make race purely cosmetic. Race has always been a topic of personal choice, but ultimately decided upon based on the passive abilities that it comes with. I would love to see this option so players could enjoy whatever race they choose. Give people the option to pick the passives as another step in the character creation. This would allow new and existing players to combine whatever character loadout they want, furthering the customization that ESO often leans towards. Keep the arbitrary passives like swim speed passive from Argonian for each race to keep them unique, but not as impactful and important. Daedric playable race and others. Removing passives would allow for new races to be added without having to create new passive systems and alter the meta. We can keep existing passive sets and use character assets that already exist in the game to easily add new playable races. Mount system. Region-based basic mounts. Allow players to collect basic cat mounts in Khajiit territories, bears in Hrothgar, camels in Alik'r Desert. You get the point. These can be purchasable with gold, similar to the current horses in game, and would give players a kickstart to their mount collection. They don't need to be overly fancy and shiny. Dyeable mount saddles would be a wonderful update. Many times I struggle to find dyes that match the mount and the saddle. If we could dye saddles per mount, it would make fashion in ESO even more enjoyable. Flying/hovering mounts. I know the conversation for flying mounts is probably not on the table, but what about hovering? A cool dragon that flies above the ground while walking would be so sweet. I also just really love dragons in any game, lore, or artwork. What RPG fan doesn't? Water mounts for faster water speed. This would be extremely silly and leads into the conversation of should ESO expand on the underwater aspect of the game like Guild Wars 2 does, which could be an entire video in itself. I just think it would be hilarious to see people just hanging out on their mounts in the water chatting, or fishing off of them to avoid creatures, and enjoy seeing ESO from a new external perspective. Questlines or museum quests with mount rewards. There are achievement mounts in the game, but it would be interesting to see some that are locked behind a questline or museum quest. These would be really fun to take new players on when they join their friends, and these mounts could be a bit fancier than the regular mounts purchased in different zones. Maybe even let us pick between different colors once per character. ZOS loves making content that we have to repeat. Could multiply this logic every year with a new animal to spice it up, but keep the same system. More mounts from Antiquities. When that Dwarven mount hit the servers, it was my first goal once I leveled Antiquities. They could even be more Dwarven mounts, just the different animals. That way the mechanical combining aspect is still maintained. 6 or 12 person mounts. Fishing events, world boss events, farming events, and any other social event you could think of would be hilarious if you saw a massive crab carrying 12 people running away. Maybe the shell is opened and we are controlling just the shell with Caldwell-like controls and magically driving the beast. Some of my favorite mounts are the Halloween ones where you hold your head as a pumpkin. It would be cool to see them get more creative with the mounts, character, and charm. Overland. I really don't have much to expand on with Overland content. Other than being too easy for experienced players, it seems to be well received, and I enjoy the variety of world event content ESO provides. I've also seen brand new players come to ESO who struggle heavily on combat while trying to explore DLC zones. Not everyone plays ESO for combat, and many players run around with low DPS while learning, so just cranking everything up could scare away new players. Though, a hard mode for veteran players is desperately needed. This is my absolute biggest request ESO listens to, as I hear from almost anyone who discusses PvE. The instances already exist, just allow people to chill in normal mode or hard mode instances and keep that zone chat universal still. Just put a small NM or HM next to their name so we can still see all zone chat, and just require a teleport to player to get in their instance, which already exists. I really love wandering bosses and would love to see more. It could also be really cool to see event-specific wandering bosses that show up during zone or holiday events. These bosses could change every year, so it's the same mechanic, but could spice up the combat and variety every year, as we all know events are very repetitive and can feel stale for experienced players. I usually just snag my tickets and go back to what I was doing. Not much of a box farmer myself. That leads us to our next topic. Events. Put all event items from past events available in Craglorn at once so people can work on what they want when they want. The fear that this creates directly makes people not want to play. I see it all the time. It creates discouragement, and many players who don't understand it or want to manage it miss out on getting mounts or finishing past fragment collectibles. For example, the Doomchar Plateau vendor is out now, but you can't get the personality amount from the vendor at the same time. Why? This is old content. Let people catch up and feel accomplished. If Craglorn was filled with cool event merchants, it would make people way more excited to play events as they can visualize what is available to collect. I understand this probably has to do with the fact that tickets are sold for crowns, which means that whales would just buy up every single piece for every event at once with their in-game gold or wallets. Most businesses aim for an amount of yearly revenue generated per user, and a lot of companies strategize to spread that out over all 4 quarters of business so it looks better on the books and to investors. ESO does this by limiting what we can buy when, so those whales spend that money across many months, not just in huge spikes. So for these reasons, I don't think my suggestion here would 100% work, but I would love to hear everyone's thoughts on the current event/ticket system. Thoughts? Inventory containers and bags. Inventory has always been an issue in the Elder Scrolls Online. The sticker book and storage chests and houses definitely help, but let's be honest, 200 is just not enough for this game. So here are my suggested changes to the inventory systems. Allow players to upgrade inventory to 300 instead of 200. Considering the armory does not store your items, sometimes I end up carrying a lot of gear on me to swap my builds. This, combined with housing furnishings, and you basically can't exist on the server without managing your inventory. A little more breathing room could go a long way. Purchasable bank or guild bank tabs would be an epic addition. I know many guilds who use their banks for multiple reasons, and having tabs to separate the logic would be wonderful. Some guilds use their bank for all auction items, but may also want to store things for long term. Imagine being able to purchase a guild bank tab for RIP vouchers that could be renamed and have 500 slots. Maybe allow us to have 3 tabs total and name all of them. This would take inventory management to the next level and encourage collecting even more in my opinion. As a passionate housing fan, my inventory is always packed with furnishings. What about a furnishing bag? Maybe it costs 3,000 RIP vouchers so you have to craft to earn it? We have an infinite crafting bag. Why not extend the technology to the furnishings as well? This would allow many players to have a huge build menu available to them while they're in their homes. I love stocking up on furnishing vendor plans and items so I can have them at the ready when planning out my builds. No one wants to leave their creative flow and run to IKEA or a furnishing vendor while in the middle of one of their builds. Another option could be containers. We already have containers being used for collectibles and other items. Maybe we could purchase satchels with RIP vouchers that hold 10, 25, 50 items, and would count as one inventory for us to carry. Imagine having a satchel of armor for your armory, or an enchanter pouch filled with everything your friend needs to get started. Or maybe those pesky auction lots that get big, you can just mail them the satchel and link it as one item during your auction. Once selected, a window would open up with all the items inside the satchel. I can think of a million uses for little inventory bags. You could limit their power by making them untradeable on the guild traders. That way it would function more for assisting in the transfer of storage of items and not completely break the intricate market system. Again, these are all rough ideas just meant to start conversation, so take them with a grain of salt. Our next topic also relates to the inventory issue, Armory Station. Please ZOS, allow armor to be saved into the armory table and not just the inventory. The Armory Station is awesome, I love it. It just feels incomplete. When I think of an armory, I think of lockers, storage, and gear management. Currently it feels like we just get the management part, not the supporting storage. Another minor gripe is what saves in the table. If head markings, personalities, mounts, current pets, and anything else you have activated are saved, this would become the most valuable item in ESO in my opinion. I love matching my skins to my outfits, to my mounts, and so on. When I have to swap and remember everything I was using, it can be stressful. Again, these are minor, but the point of this video is to just have fun and create positive dialogue in the comments. PvP. Many of you were disappointed that I did not share any PvP insight on my last video. That's because PvP has never been a big part of my journey. Therefore, speaking on it wouldn't be authentic for that specific video, since the point of it was to inspire you to enjoy ESO for what it is, not what we want. The ever-constant battle of any MMO player, no matter which one we play. My biggest suggestion for PvP is PvP morphs. We already have morphs available, why not create 2 more for each skill that activates while in a PvP instance? When a duel is triggered, during the countdown, the morphs could alter the PvP version. Upon entering a battleground, Imperial City, or Cyrodiil, they can become active as well. This would allow for abilities like Templar jabs to maybe have a single target morph, or maybe one that stuns every 5th jab. I feel this would be the greatest change to ESO because the opposite side would no longer be punished for a change to a skill they use in their rotation of their favorite class. A lot of nerfs to our beloved PvE Templar came because of PvP complaints and balancing issues. Great Templars historically can 1vx, as I see many of you popping off with them on YouTube. So why is a veteran Trial Raider punished for that when they're struggling to keep up with the Arcanist counterpart anyways? Group versus group dueling is something I would love to see as well. Make the max group size 12, since notable homes can have 24 users inside at once. This would allow 2 parties of any size, up to a maximum of 12, to compete. Imagine how epic Wayrest would be if we could just watch 2 notorious guilds settle their beef outside of Cyrodiil on the streets. I can only imagine the epic content and videos that would spark from this change. Maybe 12 is too high, but who cares, right? Maybe the complete opposite? How about a 1v1 battleground with leaderboards? Make them time limited and have some PvE content objectives so they aren't just stalemated 1v1s. With a time limit and a win condition of who does the most damage, I feel like you can prevent the 1v1 tank stalemates that might occur. Or just 2 crazy talented 1v1ers going at it just racking up DPS to see who wins in case no one dies. I think this idea needs a lot of thought, but maybe there's something there. You can finally see who the true Emperor or Empress of Tamriel is. Another cool idea could be a PvE PvP battleground mode where 3 groups of 4 to 6 compete to do randomly chosen PvE content. A time-based difficult content. It could even be alliance-based, not fighting each other, but competing in a PvE competition of high difficulty, randomness, and maybe even brief moments of PvP encounters to score extra points to catch up. Who knows? This would be such a fun thing to expand on, and would remind me so much of older MMOs PvP. Now to Imperial City and Cyrodiil. What if we gave guild members bonuses based on what guild owns what? Maybe 5% gold increase or 5% experience gain? Giving the PvE players a reason to support PvP players, and vice versa. So essentially, if your guild takes a keep or owns a major area inside one of these zones, everyone in your guild gets a minor bonus no matter where they are in game. One thing I hate about ESO PvP is how disconnected from the PvE players they are. I mean that in the sense of we are almost playing 2 different games and we really have no reason to get excited about each other or support our PvPers in our guilds. In Guild Wars 1, PvPers had to earn your country favor to enter the Underworld or Fissure of Woe. Sometimes I would come home and Korea had won the Hall of Heroes and I couldn't even farm if I wanted to. Then when the USA team won the bracket style tournament that rotated every few hours, America would earn favor and all players in the United States could then farm their hearts away. This made PvE players proud of the PvPers and directly gave us a reason to support them and become better friends. Another incredible feature that Guild Wars 1 had was the Guild vs Guild feature. This allowed you to sign your guild up for weekly games and was broken down into seasons. I can't remember exactly how it was structured as I was 14 to 15 years old while playing, but imagine each season is 3 months, so we could have 4 a year. Your guild competes with whoever shows up each week during your match night, let's say Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Each season you play 8 games, so for 2 months. Then the best teams go into a bracket style tournament the next month to see who wins. This could be an epic concept to add to the Elder Scrolls Online. This would need a ton of thought and planning, but if it was added, it would be so cool. One last thing. Please make Alliance Choice a quest that happens after you make your character. With the Any Race, Any Alliance pack, I doubt this will ever happen, though every time we get a new player to around level 20, they go, I want to PvP with y'all. And we find out they are not the right faction. Then we have to discuss paying more money or creating a new character, which new players don't always want to do. So if possible, I would love to see a quest that allows you to choose upon your first time joining a PvP match. Guild features. Guild Hall buttons would be a great addition to ESO. We already see what keep and guild trader the guild maintains. Why not add the guild hall there? And dare I say, guild arena? This would also allow a banker to be put down and connected to the guild bank for that guild. I would love to see guild halls feel more connected to the guilds themselves, not just an extension, but a core foundation. So what did I mean about guild arena? Well, now that I mentioned the guild versus guild features from Guild Wars 1, you might also like to know that guild halls were arenas in that game. Each week, you would compete at home or away. With how cool housing is in ESO, I could only imagine what an arena would look like. I am not sure if building would be a viable thing in these, or if you could just decorate certain areas, but giving guilds the abilities to purchase arenas and compete with other guilds would be sick. Imagine being able to just scrimmage against another guild, and what that would do to strengthen the PvP community. We would see all types of new theory crafting and metagaming, especially if the GVG team size was 6 to 8. Guilds currently do a lot of in-game events like raffles, auctions, and lotteries. What if these functions were built into the guild tab? Imagine being able to set a raffle ticket price, allow people to buy tickets, and have it all pull from everyone's banks. This would make these transactions instant and could even apply a small 3% gold sink. Then, the winner could be randomized in the window, displayed for the guild to see, and the money could be sent immediately. You could take this a step further for auctions by creating a small window to place multiple items, or maybe those new inventory containers we talked about, and allow auctioneers to take bids directly into the guild and mail out items. The amount of work put into running a guild would be cut down tremendously, and I feel like the community created concepts would be great additions to the core game. Lastly, a basic information events calendar tab would be a wonderful addition so non-Discord users could stay up to date and join in on events easily. Housing. Now to one of my favorite topics. I really only want a few things as I already love the housing in ESO. Simply put, more spaces and increased special furnishings and collectibles. I would love to be able to put down 30 to 40 mounts and pets to make a zoo, considering utility merchants and companions count towards this. Or maybe we separate those into their own category so mounts and pets have their own spaces. I just want to make zoos and stables, man. A great feature available with add-ons is a linking feature. Linking items to make them interactable would be a huge advancement for ESO housing. We could allow players to activate creations, trigger lights or doors, and make all sorts of cool contraptions. Please give us an auto close door setting after X seconds function. I hate showing my houses and running in to reset the doors before people see. Having them auto close would be wonderful. This might be controversial, but fishing holes in certain homes would be so fun. They could be on decently long timers and function similar to other fishing holes, but would add some more value to purchasing the homes as you could farm your fishing spots and reset them throughout the day. Maybe even have some super rare fish that are only caught in each house to give watered homes a fishing achievement. I think this would add more value to the houses that are pretty expensive and give you a reason to profit from them once purchased. Finally, what if they made more playable mini-games that trigger in the houses? All those non-playable board games could be fun, interactable games that could be set up in Tales of Tribute halls and other gaming dens. Overall, I love housing, but would love to see some of these changes. Infinite Archive. ESO already has 1, 2, 4, and 12-man content. A 3-person mode in Infinite Archive would be perfect, giving us the option to have fun stuff to do with 1 to 3 players and even try tank, healer, and DPS setups. This would allow for a new leaderboard as well. I would also love to go to different areas like beaches, forests, rivers, deserts, and any other biome ESO offers. Not sure how this would happen with the lore, but I'm pretty sure they can figure out some way to do it. I think breaking up the monotony of the Green Archive could give people more reason to want to be in there. Other than that, I would love to see just some more visions and verses because the roguelike gameplay in Infinite Archive is perfect for ESO in my opinion, though I really enjoy games like Inkbound, Halls of Torment, and Vampire Survivors. They already stated that more class sets will come, so I don't have much to say about those other than I don't run any of them on my characters and have no experience with them really. Tales of Tribute. Tales of Tribute is my favorite card game for one reason. It's a shared deck game, meaning you aren't going up against someone who has dropped $1,400 on a deck or run into a weakness because you like running water decks in Pokemon. Each player picks 2 decks and both players can purchase whatever comes up. This, combined with the immense ways to win and sabotage your opponent, makes Tales of Tribute so addicting to me. If you haven't checked out my Tribute videos, you can check out that playlist here. My first suggestion to make it better is to increase the win condition to 50-100. Many games get to around 35 and you have a huge fun combo about to hit, and then the game is over. A lot of games, it's the first big combo you would hit as well, so it feels a little short. A small increase could change this potentially. A new long-form game mode of first to 100 would be so fun as well. Big combos, longer games, and more enjoyment from all these crazy decks. Could even be a weekend event or something at first to see what people think. Outside of fundamental game mechanics, I just want to see more integration. Maybe a Tales of Tribute bracket style tournament creator so we can host in-game tournaments, or do what StarCraft does and allow daily 4-person bracket style tournaments for bonus prizes. We could also extend this to the guild tab and allow guilds to really become Tales of Tribute game halls. Skill Point Quest. The number one complaint of players making alt characters is getting new skill points. A skill point quest or challenge to get 10 to 20 skill points at once could be a great motivator in getting players to try other classes. We already get so many skill points, and 10 to 20 really isn't enough to round out everything, but could be a great addition to the game, as we have no way to chunk up skill points other than buying them from the Crown Store in Skyshard packs. This could be either a questline or maybe a combat challenge, so it's worth the reward. Mythic item slot. This will by far be the most destructive suggestion and also would take the most balancing, but what about Monster Helm plus Mythic item slot? Would ESO be more fun if everyone had a Mythic on and a Monster Helm? Considering Monster Helms are such staples of the game, it's hard to get new players to run Mythics because they lose the fun aspect of a Monster Helm. This is by far the craziest suggestion on the list, but I thought it would be fun to throw it out there and see what you guys think. Menu system. ESO is literally just a menu simulator like EVE Online, but with swords instead of spaceships. Some menus are getting better with the addition of the expanded rotary wheel though. When I go to my achievements, I love looking for ones that give me a reward I can earn, as collecting in-game item stuff is a passion of mine. Many times I wish there was a checkbox to show achievements with rewards so I can quickly see what is out there. This is a great way to decide what you want to do each day, as achievements will likely open your eyes to a journey you didn't know existed in ESO. We currently get to favorite mounts, pets, and a few other items like body markings. I would love to see this extended to my favorite motifs. Many times I am making outfits and can't remember all the belts, pants, or shoulders I enjoy using. Being able to save my favorites would be a game changer. I know I am not the only one who wishes we could randomize one item at the outfit station at a time also. I don't always want to randomize the entire outfit. Maybe I want to just browse my chest pieces or helmets. This would be a favorite of mine if they added it. Outside of fashion and navigation, I think an increased quest log would be huge. 25 can be rough when pledges and daily crafting equals 10 quests, so essentially you run around with only 15. In a game this expansive and open with no real direction, I think 35 to 50 could be nice, even if they just added 10 so we can manage those dailies a little easier. Please give everyone a minimap. We have them on PC with add-ons, they are all buggy and glitchy and are a pain to set up. It is painfully noticeable how important they are when playing different battleground game modes, and it would be a grand upgrade for everyone no matter the platform. DLC. I am not the only one who has a hard time explaining the DLC to new players. It's so confusing that many people instantly judge or dislike the game, to which we then defend ZOS and explain the value behind the ESO Plus, yada yada yada. Very confusing. I recommend that dungeon DLCs be added to chapters. It makes no sense to me that the dungeons in the chapter are not in the chapter. I doubt this will ever change, but I would much rather see an extra side zone each year added as a paid DLC to keep value with the sub. Restricting all the dungeons and monster helms is always a turnoff to new players when I speak to them. As far as new content, I just want to see more arenas and challenges, maybe something a bit shorter or a wave defense mode with tons of trash mobs so you can get huge pulls and satisfying damage numbers all over your screen. The real dopamine MMO players want. Those juicy damage numbers. Might even be nice to see some 6 to 8 man content added, as it sits in the middle of the content gap currently. Companions. Companions were a great addition to ESO, but are far from perfect. The major issue is their AI. They love standing and AoE damage, and that makes running any melee outside a tank really not that fun or viable. I would enjoy seeing them get an update and be a bit more aware of their surroundings. Being able to have both a merchant and your companions out is also needed in my opinion. More interactions with companions would be nice as well. Maybe allow us to play Tales of Tribute against them while placing homes. Also, why not let them go and pick up extra surveys for us? We have extra companions that aren't being used when we have one active, and we could send them out on daily quests to pick up our surveys that we get from daily crafting rewards, and I think that this would be a good way to chunk those down and get the resources without having to spend hours picking them up and giving us some more uses for our companions. I know there was a lot covered in this video, and many of these suggestions are very outlandish and would take a lot of effort to implement. Though, in the long run, I would love to see some of these come to fruition because I truly believe there are great mechanics and features already in the game that could just be expanded upon. I also believe simplifying some things, taking the stress out of choices you make in the beginning, and giving players more freedom to combine and experiment with their characters would be a great place to start. Notice how I didn't mention crafting? Well, that's because I have an entire video coming out soon on how I approach crafting, and honestly, I don't really have any suggested changes there. Crafting in ESO is incredible, and I can't wait to share my approach with you. What are your thoughts on these ideas? Which one do you think is the most insane, and which one do you think is most likely to hit the servers for us to try out? Be sure to let me know in the comments, as I love chatting with you all and sharing our love for the Elder Scrolls Online. If you would like, subscribe, and comment, I would greatly appreciate it, as these videos take an insane amount of time to piece together. Well, enough of me. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.